What I'll do is I'll just share the PowerPoint presentation because it is being recorded, so it might be useful to others. So just bring that up. There you go. Hope you can all see that. Here we go. Yeah, so as Zara said, my name's Liaquat Ali. Everyone knows me as Ali, and I work for a project called Men in Health. What is Men in Health? Men in Health is was a pilot project set up by the West Yorkshire Health and Care Partnership to try to engage men um, that's working within the network in health and social care, voluntary and community sector organisations to access services that are available to them, or services that are out there that they might be unsure if they are relevant to them. So it's like a one-stop shop for services across the whole of the West Yorkshire region. And we support all male staff working within health, social care and voluntary and community sector organisations, and anyone who identifies as male as well. What makes our service different? So we're a very personal service. So I'll come on to some of our marketing in a little bit, but if you were to pick up any of our flyers or any leaflets, the only contact details you'll have on any of that on any of them flyers is my contact details, my direct mobile number, my email address, and link to the website, which has got all the resources on there for each area. And what we're trying to do is make it a personal service. So it's not just about signposting people into other services or signposting them into talking therapies, whether that's within their local within their organisations, such as Bradford Teaching Hospitals or Bradford Care, but it's also using the services that are available from the West Yorkshire Health and Wellbeing Hub, because they've got their own counsellors, and we can signpost into the staff wellbeing hub as well. But a lot of it is working with local voluntary and community sector organisations and trying to give people an alternative. So, say for example, someone's feeling lonely and isolated, trying to match them up with some of what we talk about with them and matching up with some of their hobbies and interests, trying to find local groups that might be useful to them. And there's lots and lots of local groups for men, whether that's peer support groups, walking groups, allotment groups. There's quite a few groups available within the region that are there to help support men. It might be more they want targeted support, something like relationship support or bereavement support. So that's where people like Bradford Bereavement Service would come in, or Curse, or anyone that's got what we do is we try to find out who's got the shortest waiting time when we're referring them into professionals, and that's the team that we'd refer them into. So even though they might work for, say for example, in Leeds, if we're working in Leeds, we know that the waiting time for IAP services in Leeds is horrendous, so we transfer them, refer them straight into the West Yorkshire Staff and Wellbeing Hub, where they'd get a call within 72 hours and be seen between, depending on the type of counselling they want, they could be seen anywhere between 6 to 10 weeks. So it's a really quick turnaround. And once we signpost someone into a service, our job isn't done. We're there with them for the whole duration of their journey. That service might not be for them. They might want to try something else. It's just a matter of picking up the phone, having a chat, and us checking in with them as well to see how they're getting on and if that's the right service for them. So it's a very personal service we offer. We don't work 9 to 5. I've been to meet people after their shift at 8 o'clock in a hospital, just to have a chat. We've gone into wards in trust on night shift and stuff, trying to engage with men, because mental health and wellbeing needs aren't 9 to 5. So we try to adapt our service as much as possible, try to engage with as many men as possible, and don't buy into the fact that people or certain groups are hard to reach. It's never something that I've actually bought into. It's badly designed services if we're not reaching the people that are out there. Let's design a service that is useful for men and men have easy access to it. How we work is some of the stuff that we've organised. We've been into staff networks, talked to them face to face. We have drop-in sessions where we think people might be hanging around. So that might be canteens, staff rooms. We organise a football tournament with Calderdale Hospitals to try to encourage. We know men will come to things like football tournaments. If they've got half an hour gap between the football tournament, they know that it's a mental health football tournament. They're going to have to talk to someone about it, and I'm there talking to them. That football tournament didn't go great. I probably give people more health and well-being issues with my dodgy refereeing skills, and I awarded a penalty when it wasn't a penalty. I might have misunderstood the rules a bit, but I think it was really enjoyed to get 50 men in the same place at the same time, all knowing that they're going to play football, but are going to talk about health and well-being as well, is really important. One of the pictures at the bottom there is we went into Bradford Teaching Hospitals, wheelchair site and accessibility site where they give out wheelchairs to people. We talk, the manager gives the staff an hour off in the morning. We talk to them all about health and well-being and peer support groups and things like that. And we try to get our flyers up on as many notice boards, fridges, men's toilets, anywhere we might be able to see, mill staff might see, and we try to get our flyers up there so they can access them. With our flyers, as you can see, we tend not to put the word mental health in there. It's something that we can discuss with individuals once they've accessed the service, but we talk about life situations, the cost of living. Being a dad isn't always easy. Life can be an uphill struggle. Just showing them that there's someone there, that is someone there to support them. And we also talk about things like everyone's journey is unique to themselves. And the one that really kind of like pushes, let's man up by talking about how we're feeling. You know, manning up isn't about keeping your feelings to yourself. It's important that we talk about how we're feeling and what's on our minds and what's distressing us. So this is our flyers and posters that we send out. We'll try to get into this week, with it being Men's Health Week. We had 50 men come to an event that we organised in Kirksall Valley Farm. It was called The Day in the Woods, where we did things like bushcraft and foraging, forest bathing, navigation, spoon whittling, and all that kind of stuff. And whilst this is going on, we can have them conversations about health and well-being with people. And we've also been into like Leeds Civic Hall today. We had this week with Black Men in Health. Black Men in Conference that was held in Leeds. We went and talked to them about it. One of the things that we found about our service is we are reaching people others might not do. So out from our demographics, it's roughly 60% of everyone that we reach are from the global majority workforce, which is really good because it shows that they are willing to access service if the service is appealing to them. One of the things that makes the service appealing to them is actually seeing another person that looks like them, someone with non-white skin, someone who's male, and that's really important on men's health. That's one of the barriers that we've come across when we're talking to staff. It's nice to talk to another man about this, and I think that's where things like Andy's Man Club are thriving, because it's a setting where males can go and talk to other men about it. Andy's Man Club throughout the country get over 3,000 men coming on a Monday night to their services for peer support services. So, you know, they're doing something right. If we can replicate that within your workforces, within organisations, especially we're doing something similar with the health informatics service, where we're setting up a peer support group within the organisation where they can come around, sit around and talk about any issues and health and wellbeing needs they may have. And we're looking at doing similar stuff in pharmaceutical plants and things like that, part of the NHS. And that's a brief nutshell of what we do at Men in Health. I'm going to put this slide on because I know it's being recorded. So you've got my email address on there, you've got the website, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram on there as well. My mobile number's missing off this, but on the previous slide, my mobile number's on the bottom of each of them leaflets. And that's a quick snapshot of what we do at Men in Health. I'll stop sharing and open it up to any questions people may have.
That was great, Leah-Kat. I think you've highlighted the importance of activities, not just as a central pillar of well-being, but we find that men are more willing to open up and talk if it's combined with doing an activity. So chatting whilst doing an activity can help them talk more openly. I think that's a really important one. So, and you also highlighted peer support as well, peer support services, where it's people with similar experiences coming together without the power hierarchies, without that feeling that, so, oh, I'm with a therapist or a doctor and I have to do what they say. It's people just coming together to support one another. It's all a relationship of equals, and that really helps to people to open up as well.
Yeah, and we found like not turning, we have a policy that you don't turn up to when you're doing any outreach or drop-in services. Dress down a little bit instead of dressing up, because it's important that you've got that human element to you. You're not just another Sue. So I was at the LTHT finance away day yesterday, and they'd all come in their work uniform. I turned up in shorts and t-shirts, and it's important that they see you as a person, not as someone who's there to tell them what they need and what that's not how a person-centered approach works. That's not how you get the best out of a person.
I agree entirely. Yeah.
Goran, you got your hand up.
Hello, Ali. Yeah. Sorry, how do I say your name?
It's Liaquat, but everyone calls me Ali. My email address is Ali. I've just been known as Ali since the 90s.
Okay, then. Yeah. I know I've always had problems with people saying my name correctly, and I don't mind, but it drives my wife mad, but I don't mind. Yeah, so I apologize. I've not had a look at your website yet. Just give us a quick rundown of where I can find out, say, what activities are going on, and is that basically on the website? Is there, or I suppose it changes at the last minute and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. So on the website, the only activities we've got that are going on are fed through from Men's Health Unlocked in Leeds. So they update their activities on a regular basis and they come through. The rest of it is services that are available in local areas. So if you look at our website, I'll just bring it up very quickly.
Yeah, no, it's just you were mentioning football, bushcraft, and I don't know what. Is that stuff that you do, Ali, or do you refer people into people who are doing those things?
So the day in the woods is something that we organised ourselves as an organisation, Touchstone, and lots of Men's Health Unlocked came together, and some of the BAME groups that we work with, and we all organised that for Men's Health Week. The football tournaments organised with Calderdale Hospital, and yeah, so if we get a group of people, we can organise events to tailor their need to meet their needs, but also put them into, say, for example, you had 5 or 6 men in a peer support group and you knew about the day in the woods, we'd say, come along. Yeah.
Right, gotcha. Lovely. Okay. All done.
Just keep an eye on the chat. I don't know if there's something going on in the chat. Oh, okay, yeah. Super. Any other questions from Andy, Gareth, Anna, or even Nicola or David? No, super. So I shall hand over to David, seeing as his microphone's on, not on mute. You can go next.
Yeah, thanks for all that. Yeah, so my name's David Gill and I work for the Cellar Trust, which is a mental health charity based in Shipley, but we cover the Bradford, Airedale, Wharfdale and Craven areas. We go out as far as Bentham in the west, and all around north, south, east and west of Bradford. We specialise in peer support services, of various kinds, although we also have trust therapies under our wing. That's counselling services in Bradford. But we're a multi-award-winning peer support service. We are a relatively small charity still, although we're growing and very rapidly. And so far, we haven't provided a man-only or a woman-only service of any kind. But of course, we do talk to people about issues around, you know, reluctance or not feeling confident to talk about your own struggles. A lot of people say that they're not confident, that they would recognise when a friend or a family member is struggling. And that just highlights the need to raise awareness and understanding around mental health generally. And the best way to do that is to chat about it, isn't it? It's to get together and talk. So we run a number of specialist peer support services that work with particular cohorts of service users, but we also run more informal peer support groups. And we have other services such as our peer support services and our crisis services, which are all staffed by peer support workers, and they are one-to-one appointments. And we provide peer support training as well. So that's my role within the Solar Trust, is that I'm the peer support training coordinator. And we're finding that peer support is growing really fast in mental health services, which is good news because it's also proving to be highly effective in supporting people with their mental health struggles. So peer support does have a very bright future. And I also train, I don't just train mental health professionals or health and care sector professionals. I train people setting up their own peer support groups in the community. I train people in workplaces. So there have been numerous statutory organisations, but also private companies who've decided to invest in the well-being of their workforce, and as such, they're recruiting volunteers to be peer support workers. And I've been training people like that in even private companies. So it's a real growth area. In terms of men in particular, Ali mentioned Andy's Man Club, which set itself up about 5 or 6 years ago, and it grew so rapidly. It's a peer support group for men, and it grew so rapidly that, yeah, what was it, Ali? 3,000 people on a Monday night, and they have groups in Bradford and Keighley and further afield as well. A particular organisation in Bradford that I'd like to mention is an organisation called It's Worth Talking About. And that's just itsworthtalkingabout.org. It's Worth Talking About, all lowercase, all one word. They're similar to Andy's Man Club. Andy's Man Club tends to be a little bit more structured in that they might use a rugby ball to pass around, so you know when it's your turn to speak. So, for example, some men have said that they weren't very happy with that arrangement. But It's Worth Talking About are completely informal and completely run and led by the members of the group. So it's the people who attend the groups who set the agenda, rather than the organisation setting the agenda. And in the Bradford area, It's Worth Talking About have been growing really rapidly too. And I've already trained 5 cohorts of their peer support facilitators. So yeah, It's Worth Talking About are really well worth getting in touch with. And they also do activities around raising understanding and awareness around mental health. And the name It's Worth Talking About reflects what most suicide awareness training also tells you, is that talking saves lives. So the key really is to get men together and create an environment and a safe space where they feel comfortable, where they feel they can open up and talk about these issues that affect everybody. Yeah, talking saves lives. Last month I was at Leeds Playhouse, of all places, delivering a workshop on mental health awareness and understanding and the value of peer support. and not just the value of talking, but the real value of listening. My workshop was called Voices Need Ears. Yeah, it's no good getting people together and they no one's listening. And listening actively, listening to understand, listening to understand rather than to fix, not to judge, listening to acknowledge people and to validate them. That's at the core of peer support. It's the key peer support skill. It's called active listening. So yes, talking saves lives, but listening saves lives would be my big message there. So I didn't actually have any time to prepare for this today because I'm a last-minute substitute due to an injury. Yes. So does anybody have any comments or questions about what I've been talking about?
I did think you didn't look like David Grant.
You worked that out, did you?
Well, I used to play football with David many years ago.
Did you?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. We played for a local team called the Yorkshire Terriers from about 2004 onwards. Yeah, so
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Small world. Yeah, so I think from the point of view of Bradford, yeah, it's worth talking about, and his man club have a presence too, and there are lots of different activities groups. I thought I'd particularly mention men's sheds. Has anybody heard of men's sheds? It's a nationwide organisation, and they have a group in Shipley, where I am. And that's all around, getting people together to do activities. But within that, then people are talking about the things that outside of that context they might be reluctant to talk about. Any comments, questions, concerns, jokes?
I'll just saying, well, other than David is one of the reasons I joined today. Sorry, my name's Andy Alderson. I'm Assistant Ward Officer for Bradford Council for Bingley and Bingley Rural Wards.
Right.
And I have just set up the men's shed in Bingley and Bingley Rural, which
Brilliant.
is quite successful actually. And we're just currently in the process of setting one up in Willesden as well. But we also run a service in Bradford called Neighbourhood Connect. And this is neighbourhood services in Bradford that are being so anybody from, say, a PCSO, a policeman, a council, or anything can refer into Neighbourhood Connect for people that are just below the threshold for receiving statutory services.
Yeah.
And then my job then is to connect to local groups. So obviously there'll be a referral form from whoever anybody can refer into Neighbourhood Connect. And then my job then, being the ward officer, because I like to think I know what's going on in my community, is voluntary groups, where, depending on what the requirements are, it could be dealing with isolation, loneliness. I can point them to Men's Shed, Andy Man's Club. I know Paddy at worth talking about. It could be that they're interested in gardening, and I'll know various gardening groups or allotment groups and things like that. So, yeah, thank you for that, David. And I know you're just up the road from me in Shipley Town Hall.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're on my doorstep. You could be a new good friend of mine.
Well, thanks for that, because I've not heard of Neighbourhood Connect, so I shall add that to our site postings.
Yeah,
services.
like I said, it's for people that are just below the threshold of receiving statutory services and hopefully some intervention work.
Indeed.
That we can do that with peer support groups. And
indeed.
I've introduced myself as well as gate crashing your. So
thanks. That's brilliant, Andy. And just to mention also that peer support isn't only for people who are like just below the threshold. We work with people with very complex mental health needs, providing peer support, and it's effective even for those people. So that getting together with peers is really, really crucial.
I have one question. Just bear with me. I'm just going to shut the door. For people who might have recognized diagnoses such as psychosis, I don't know, maybe some sort of not learning difficulties, but maybe autism or something like that. Quite often they have social anxiety. So, you know, and I've seen it with people who've just cut themselves off from their friends and sort of thing. So, do you number one, do you sort of deal with, are there, you know, do you deal, any of you, with people like that? And B, is there anything, say for instance, a gardening or an allotment project that we could be posted towards? I suppose the difference, you see, to me, that's a little bit different to peer support group. The people I'm thinking of need a lot of support. So it would be someone who maybe would go along to an allotment, but have difficulty with social situations. Also, they do need sort of directing. So it's like, once you finish that job, you need to do that, and then you need to do that, and then you need to do that. Do you know what I mean? Who, yeah, people who are not sort of going to be proactive, but, you know, very capable people, but just need a bit of support on an activity.
Yeah, so the first part of your question about, you know, do we deal with people with diagnoses of whatever nature? And the answer resoundingly is yes, we do. One of the reasons is that peer support is just about working with people rather than doing things to them or for them. And as such, there's no specific agenda. And because there's no specific agenda, it doesn't interfere with other therapeutic interventions. So peer support can go alongside other forms of support quite comfortably. And yeah, indeed, at the Cellar Trust, we have teams working with people who've experienced trauma or are experiencing trauma, people with psychosis, people with very complex mental health needs. But part of the key to that is that we take a multi-agency approach as well. So we do cooperate and coordinate and liaise with the other support services that people are engaging with, just to make sure everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet. But as I say, yeah, peer support's for anyone and everyone. I don't know about activities groups in your area, Goran, Selby. I don't know if anybody else is aware of any.
I think there's a farm in North Yorkshire. I can try to find the details that specialises in autism and people with autism, and they come in and spend time on the farm. I can try to find the details for you.
That sounds really good, actually. Sounds excellent.
Yeah, and there's lots of, I know Bradford do, I've got an autism support team within the council, and the National Autism Charity have got information on their website as well about services available locally to people. So, but if I can find them details, I'll drop them in the chat.
That's great. I should just respond to what you were saying about neurodiversity, because we're currently developing our peer support training towards that direction, but it's quite a complicated issue. But neurodiversity support groups is another growth area in peer support. So, you know, watch this page. In future, we'll be doing things around that. At the moment, there's relatively little support for people in that group, but hopefully we're moving in the right direction to improve that.
And have you guys come across obviously you have come across, but you know, people with social anxiety. Yeah. Any recommendations, any pointers for groups or support in that area?
Oh yeah, I did mean to say that very often someone with social anxiety, you know, it can be a mistake to see social anxiety as a thing that people have, or like it's an illness. The vast majority of mental health conditions are actually caused by things going on in people's lives. So social anxiety will have specific causes, things going on in their life that are making them anxious in terms of connecting socially. But a lot of people find that they prefer to be in the company of people they don't know. The social anxiety is exaggerated because they know the people that they're supposed to be engaging with, but they'll often feel more comfortable among strangers. And whether that's one-to-one or in a group,
that's
quite common.
That's interesting. Yeah, because the people I'm thinking about, their social anxiety is based around people they know, because the paranoid delusions are based around the people they know, sort of thing.
It's very common. Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't take myself off mute then. Yeah, with our services, because it's just me supporting them, that can be individually over the phone. And I've been to Andy's Man Club a couple of times with people I'm supporting because they didn't feel comfortable going there by themselves. So I've gone to the first session with them, and it's, yeah, we don't really have any. Well, we've got rules and safeguarding and all that to our service, but we don't really have any other rules. We don't fit into a box. So if someone needs a certain kind of support, we can find that support for them. But I'm just in the box on the side, I posted the thing about the Northern Man Festival that's taking place, just on what David said about Leeds Playhouse. There's a big event happening at Leeds Playhouse this Saturday as the end event for Northern Man Festival. So if anyone's in the area and would like to pop along, it's completely free. And there's events happening over the next 2 days as well, if any of them take your fancy.
Thanks for that, Luca. And I've just put the link to the Social Trust website, peer support services. And if there are no more comments or questions, perhaps I pass over to Nicola now. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, David. I feel like there's going to be a strong theme with what we're talking about here today, so I do apologise because I'm probably going to reiterate some of the messages. Hopefully that's a good thing that we're all kind of saying the same thing. So yeah, my name's Nicola. I work in the public health team at the council. Just to sort of before I start, I am going to be talking about suicide prevention. I appreciate that's a very sensitive subject, so if people do want to turn their cameras off or anything like that's totally fine. As Zara said, you know, just keep yourselves safe. Myself, my colleagues have been working with colleagues over at the West Yorkshire. I was going to say the West Yorkshire Playhouse then, because you've just been talking about it, not the West Yorkshire Playhouse, no, the West Yorkshire Health and Care Partnership, on one of their projects, which is called Check In With Your Mate. So I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. And if you could just give me a nod to sort of say that's sharing, is that what? Yeah, bro, thanks, Ali. So can I just have a little thumbs up or not a thumbs up? Has anybody been on this particular website before? West Yorkshire Suicide Prevention? No? Okay, well, that's quite good to me at least. I've got something new to tell you. So this is, as it says, it's the West Yorkshire's Suicide Prevention website, and they have created a campaign called Check In With Your Mate, created sort of 18 months ago, 2 years ago. And what we've been doing is working with them to, I guess the sort of term is amplify that message. So if I just give you a bit of information about the campaign and kind of what we're doing with it, and then I'll show you just a bit of sort of functions and of the website. So what we've done is we've done a project with some of our sports teams, and actually, if I just click onto here, that should now be sharing, hopefully, a picture of, can you see lots of men with placards? Brill. So this is Keighley Cougars, Bradford Bulls, Yorkshire Cricket and Bradford City. And so what we've done is we've done a campaign with the sports teams where they're basically going to take the Check In With Your Mate campaign and use their channels and their kind of voice with men to talk about the different resources that are available. And it was actually interesting, David, when you were talking about it's worth talking about, because I can't remember the name of their sort of founder. He was actually quoted in the press release saying, you know, it's really good because actually men look up to sportsmen, don't they? So actually if they say something, you know, not all men, but some men will listen. So that's one sort of strand of the work, is we're basically just using their platform to spread the message about this particular campaign. And essentially what we're wanting people to do is to come to this page. So if you literally just type in www.checkinwithyourmate.co.uk, it takes you through to the Get Support page, which if I just click on there, and essentially then people can choose which part of West Yorkshire they're in and to go and get support. So you come back to Bradford, and it kind of is what it says on the tin. It's about trying to help people to help one another. So again, what David was talking about, like that peer support. This is obviously at a quite a crisis end. So we're talking about people who are in maybe a place of sort of despair. So, you know, this is potentially tricky stuff. And I guess in terms of the theme of today's workshop being around breaking taboos, that was the reason I sort of chose to talk about this rather than some other areas of mental health, because I think for a lot of areas of society, a lot of people in society, suicide is a tricky thing to talk about. It's a sometimes stigmatized thing to talk about. And it's a scary thing to talk about if we're going to talk really honestly. And what this website and what the, colleagues at West Yorkshire, I guess, been trying to do is to try and give people the sort of skills and the confidence to be able to broach that conversation, and to know that actually you asking somebody about suicide isn't going to make it any worse. You know, people sometimes think, oh, if I say it, am I going to plant an idea? It says everywhere, you will not plant that idea. What it does say is actually, if you say the words, are you thinking about taking your own life? Are you thinking about suicide? What it does do is it lets that person know you're prepared to have that conversation. You're prepared to talk about the elephant in the room, and actually gives them that opportunity to then talk to you. So there's some really good stuff in here. So what we've just added in before the start of the campaign was what to say if you think someone could be suicidal. And so there's something called Creating Hope Through Language, which West Yorkshire put together. And it's literally just a sort of one-page kind of PDF about thinking about language. You know, language is so important. You know, it is incredibly important to listen, as David was saying, but it's also incredibly important to think about what language are we using. So by saying the word suicide, you know, that helps people know that you are okay to talk about it. Equally, it sort of says things to avoid, like don't say, oh, not thinking of doing anything silly, are you? Like, you know, and that's terminology that is used. It also talks about terminology such as committing suicide. And I would say probably 90% of people would use the terms committing suicide and not think about it, and not be putting any stigma in it. But actually, because it came from, I guess, when it was illegal, that there's a weight to that, isn't there? There's a meaning to that that's beyond something. So it gives you other things to say, such as died by suicide, or are you thinking about suicide, rather than committed. So that's one of the resources there. There's also other resources. I'm asking them to change the terminology in this, because I think nobody's going to read the thing, something that's got framework on it, are they? I mean, framework's never that appealing, but actually it's a really useful resource from West Yorkshire, from Yorkshire and Humber's Public Health. And actually it gives you things like, what are the warning signs? And again, you know, would everybody feel confident that, oh, I would know if someone, you know, someone close to me felt like that? Well, I can put my hand up and say I didn't know, and I was very fortunate that person made it through and arrested, but I didn't have any idea. This was years ago, and actually I wish that I'd read these things and had those, you know, that kind of skills and knowledge in my head. So we've got information about the warning signs, and then it gives you tips about, you know, how to have those questions, how to open up sort of, you know, open discovery questions, so that person is given the opportunity to tell you about their experience. So I think there's lots of good resources, and as with all things, there's often lots of good resources out there, but what they're trying to do on this website is sort of pull it all together. And there's also the Zero Suicide Alliance training, which I don't know if people have done. If you haven't done it, or a few nods, brilliant. If you haven't done it, I would really recommend it. It takes about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, if you really sort of taking time to really digest it. But it's very, for an e-learning, it's brilliant. It's really interactive. It's really good quality. And again, learns lots of useful hints and tips, and it's got people in there with lived experience. So definitely something we're really trying to push people to do. And again, regardless of whether you work in mental health or you don't work in mental health or anything, I just think everybody should do it because it's a really useful thing to know. And then what they've done is basically on here, it's got various different kind of topics that we know are risk factors for suicide. And what it does is, so if we look at, say, alcohol and drug support, it gives you information about what those local support services are. So kind of check in with your mate is about, in the first instance, have that conversation with your friend, your family member, your work colleague, and do those things in terms of helping them to just have that conversation. If during that conversation they sort of say, do you know what, the bit I'm struggling with is alcohol or drugs or gambling, then actually what this website will do is say, here's the professional help now for that person to help them take that next step towards feeling better. So they're all, it's quite clean, it's quite simple, tell them the bit you want to go to and it will cut down. What I have noticed, Ali, is that we need to get you on the men's mental health, mental health support. So I'll check in with you later on and get that straight on there, because it's got that one on, but not you guys. So yeah, so that was the main thing really today. I just wanted to talk about that. So we've got the work with the sports teams to try and really amplify that. But again, if you've got people that you work with, or if you've got any way of spreading this, say we've got the press release about the sports teams, which kind of makes it a sort of an interesting hook. So we'd love it to sort of spread the message about this website. And actually we did a piece of work with a marketing and insights company. And so we had got, I think it was about 18 men, about 6 or 7 women, and then 5 or 6 health and care professionals, and they've actually just looked at this and sort of said what their thoughts were. And the great thing was, and say it's not mine, so I'm not taking any kudos from it, but they really liked it. They were like, it's clean, it's simple, it tells me what I want, it doesn't tell me any extra fuss. There was a few things to change and update, but overall, the men especially were really happy with it. So that was really good. So that was great. And then just whilst I have the floor, we've got a few other things. So we did do some suicide prevention grants. So they were sort of back end of last year, beginning of this year. And then that was with community organisations. We're currently, in fact, today, we just now finished, closed for mental wellbeing grants. And we are, with those grants, been encouraging people to use something called 5 ways to wellbeing, which again, you may or may not have heard of. And 5 ways to wellbeing is about helping people to connect with others, learn, give, be active, and to take notice. And we've also added into that the element of getting out into nature and green spaces, because there's a report by the World Health Organization about how important it is for us to get into green spaces. So when you were talking about your day in the woods, Ali, I was like, yes, let's go, let's do some of that. So yeah, so lots of good stuff going on there. We've also got sort of community development workers. So Andy, I don't know if you're linked in with them. Do you know them in terms of your work as a neighbourhood warden? Oh, he's not responding. I'll check in with him later on. And then there's other resources and websites, such as things like the Healthy Minds website, which is trying to pull together all the different mental health services across the district as well. So that's just being redeveloped at the moment. Yeah, lots of different things in public health going on, but they were the main things I sort of wanted to touch on today. Thank you very much. Any questions?
That website looks really good and really easy to navigate. I'm really impressed by it.
I think they've done a good job. Yeah. So if you literally just Yeah, and I say it's got quite a long, suicide prevention westyorkshire.co.uk is the actual thing, but if you type it, it's got what we call a mask URL. So if you literally type in check in with your mate.co.uk, it takes you through to the page where you can choose which area you're in, obviously just Bradford for most of us. So yes, it is a good resource, and I think that's the thing, because West Yorkshire have they've kind of done the legwork, if you like, in terms of putting it together. So it's quite nice for us, because we can just kind of go, oh, can we just add this bit into our Bradford page, and they are absolutely, they will get it done, you know, within days. They'll get things updated, and they're just keen that people use it, and that it's there, that it's a useful resource. And there's lots of other bits. I mean, I've only shown you the Bradford page. There's like a whole other resources section page. There's lots of bits, and when people first go onto it, it sort of asks, are you I think having feelings of suicidal or in distress? So you can, if you're feeling, you know, at that moment you need help, click yes. It will take you straight through to the, you know, the responses, things like first response and Samaritans, so people can get that instant help if they need it there and then. Thank you very much.
I accessed, while you were talking, I were reading through it, through the page. I accessed it through Bradford Council's Living Well page.
Yeah.
That's where I accessed it.
Ah, lovely. Yes. And Andy, do you work with our community development workers? Have you met with them yet?
Yes.
Yes, Brill. That's lovely.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just there's so many different sort of parts
There
of the
is.
puzzle, aren't they? And
Yeah.
yeah, it's always just good to make sure that everybody's connected.
Yeah.
Over to you, Zara.
Oh, thank you. That has been absolutely fantastic. So I'll just stop recording, and just